goal of the world then becomes simply being humanitarian, nice, affectionately loving. And, for a while you really can do that. It says, if then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. Now, before you get defensive and say, or I would say, before we get defensive and say, what's wrong with what I'm trying to achieve? I want to say to you, that's the wrong approach. Defensiveness is always a sign of unwillingness to yield to God. The way you and I receive solutions from God, even interpret solutions from God, depends a lot on our own interpretation of God and the goals that we have. This particular group had a completely different interpretation of God and the motives of God, the character of God. Therefore, the goals of God were different to them. In the name not only of their political entity, their city-state or whatever, but in the name of God. Some of these folks beat and imprisoned him. And yet Paul was bringing not only to this particular church, but also, and this city, Colossae, but many other nations, and certainly to us centuries later, a genuine solution from God that dealt with this whole issue of God and the place of Jesus Christ in the universe. For those of you that have been in Bible institutes and Bible colleges and theology classes and biblical studies classes, you already know that the book of Colossians was written to show the relationship of Jesus Christ to the universe, to the cosmos, or the cosmos. For those of you that didn't know, now you know. It was written as a companion letter to the book of Ephesians. The book of Ephesians was written to show the relationship of Jesus Christ to the church, that he's preeminent in the church. He's head of the church, and who the church is in Jesus. The book of Colossians was written to show the relationship of Jesus Christ to the cosmos, to the world, to the age, to the universe. So you find Paul saying things like this: he is the first, and he is to be preeminent. He is preeminent in all things. That means he's first in all things. And so he breaks all of this down. Now he's at the point where he's talking not only about Jesus Christ being preeminent in the church, but being dominant in the world. In the world. Some folks have asked, why do you Christians believe that Jesus Christ is for the whole world? That's because God told us so in his word. See? And the solution to dealing with the issues in the world have to do with our interpretation of Jesus and our goals as they relate to Jesus. Any nation that is chosen to try to establish political, economic, and educational and other social and cultural goals that are in defiance and rebellion and resistance to Jesus will meet with the opposition, not just of a political group called the church, most of whom are currently right now seemingly in the Republican Party of the United States of America. No. Jesus is not a Republican. Jesus is not a Democrat. Jesus is the King of the universe. So they're going to deal not just with some political agenda. We're going to have to deal with Jesus, the Christ. He is first and foremost in the cosmos, in the universe. That's the message. That's the point of the book of Colossians. And so the apostle says this to us: as you therefore have received Christ Jesus, second chapter, verses 6 and following. Colossians 2, verses 6 and following. As you therefore have received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk in him. See if you can pull that up for me, please. Colossians chapter 2, verses 6 through 8. We're going to end up here at chapter 3, verse 1 and following. Colossians 2, as you therefore, let's read together. As you therefore have received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk in him. Now emphasize the first phrase here. As you therefore have received Christ Jesus the Lord. Let me ask you a question. How have you received Christ Jesus the Lord? How have you received?